I'm trying to shout out magical power to help my dear comrades. Jin Xian stood behind him, examining Ha Jin little by little. But suddenly he saw something strange. It tickled and chilled all the hair on his neck, turning his head back to look for what was causing him to do that. Oh, damn it. When did Daesung's grandfather fly and float from there to here? Daesung coldly blamed Ha Jin for being slow like a turtle. It's been so long and it's still not done yet. What? Ha Jin was so angry that he curled his lips and argued. We're trying our best. We're not sitting idle. Jin Xian suddenly stepped back cautiously when Daesung suddenly approached. His oppressive aura made him even though he was using stealth techniques. He was afraid of being exposed. But Daesung passed by him without emotion, constantly yelling at Ha Jin to get away quickly. He could use that fart as much as he could. At that moment, Jin Xian suddenly realized, God help me, the opportunity to kill that Han Daesung has come. Daesung used the Saju capture pair that can identify all targets within a radius of 1 kilometer. So why the hell didn't we find out that Jin Xian and a bunch of hidden monsters had mixed into the team? Just waiting for the right moment, Daesung performed the ultimate heavenly fire bullet and shot a fireball straight at the flying monsters. The aura of the ball made the hidden monsters tremble all over. He gasped and gasped. His eyes widened in horror at the enormous power. The flies don't seem to like this toy very much. They ran away and denied death. But it was too late. The big fireball exploded and countless small fireballs chased after each of them, taking care of them one by one until they burned them to death. The fireball continued to fall on the heads of the monsters. And the dogs hid in the human bodies. They didn't have time to escape, so they lay stranded in the fire. The hunters on the ship next to them didn't understand what was going on, thinking that Daesung had accidentally done something careless because they were clearly part of the other hunter team. The monster's ship also exploded before the mortal eyes of the hunter team. Ha Jin got really angry and loudly yelled at Daesung why he carelessly killed his teammates. Daesung blinked in confusion as he answered our side, then pointed to Jin Xian who was seriously injured holding his chest behind him. Ha Jin was stunned. What is this disgusting guy? He doesn't belong to your group of hunters. Jin Xian was stripped of his identity and severely injured. So his blood boiled and he cursed Daesung. You bastard. The hunter team members gathered around and confirmed once again that this guy with the fishbone scarred face really did not belong to any hunter gang. So where did he come from? Daesung admires Jin Xian's long life. He must be a leech. An insect or something. Daesung cut his sadness in half and still lives until this moment. It is true that cruel people often live leisurely lives and are as persistent as leeches. Han Daesung and Jin Xian shouted. He actually endured for a long time before having the opportunity to approach and kill him, but was once again forced into a stuck position. He pulled out an unknown magic syringe from his shirt and stabbed it into his body, the medicine flowing into every blood vessel in his body, causing Jin Xian's whole body to glow. He angrily gritted his teeth, shot a fierce look and said a harsh sentence. Han Daesung, I will never open that dog's muzzle of yours again. As he finished speaking, he vomited blood, and the magical aura then spread out around him in front of everyone's discriminatory looks. He quickly jumped into the sea. Daesung watched and thought for a long time. His mother was angry. Back then, the weeds were completely destroyed. But now things like that wouldn't have happened. The hunters now remember the name of Jin Xian. He was the bad guy who died in the test back then. Not long after Jin Xian jumped into the sea, black evil energy rose from there and surrounded the ship more and more densely. So much so that the whole team was confused and couldn't see anything. Jin Xian was bad at playing dirty games. Tom assured him that if he played dirty on Monday, no one would play dirty on Sunday. Next, long, sharp tentacles emerged from the sea, stalking the ship, then suddenly swept like a storm into the group of people. It skewered Daesung's gang brothers like sushi skewers dipped in mustard. Realizing that someone had died, the brothers in the group shouted to each other to get ready to attack. Suddenly an animal cultivator attacked Ha Jin from above. She quickly deployed a heavenly stem shield to protect herself. But somehow that animal cultivator still passed through. If it weren't for the quick and agile Dae-sung grabbing it at the right time, the next piece of sushi would have been this beautiful Ha-jin. Dae-sung grimaced and asked his wife to come up here for him. A giant half-human, half-octopus monster floats to the surface of the water. Its magical aura is so overwhelming that it overwhelms all living beings. Both the ship and the hunters were overwhelmed and thrown up like chopsticks. Oh cha-cha. Jin Xian has returned in the form of the Parasite King, one of the most dangerous monsters on the planet. The first part of the monster is Jin Xian's body. The rest looks like the body of a king octopus with billions of long tentacles. The transformation part was considered okay. The monster Jin Xian quickly rushed its large body towards Dae-sung, who was floating above the sea. Scream loudly. Fuck you. Dae-sung looked at the roaring Jinshin beast with an extremely hateful expression on his face. This name is becoming more and more disgusting. So disgusting. Changing the scene to the mainland. Chan Ho told Cho Young that if they want to save Wang Junyoung, Cho Young must help them. Cho Young looked at the Dae-sung gang's card and thought. Cho Young wanted to know how he could help Dae-sung's gang since this gang was founded by Dae-sung, an S-level hunter with abilities stronger than S-level. It's very simple. Chan Ho said he just wanted to know the whereabouts of Dr. Park Dong-hyuk. Cho Young turned to look into the distance for a moment before responding to Chan Ho. The doctor's whereabouts are completely confidential, so you should discuss this with leader Wang Junyoung. Tom thought about it, so Chan Ho's afternoon tea today was a waste. Stop worrying. Go back to the fierce battle in the Thuong Thuong community. Ha-jin's team's ship was thrown into pieces, causing the whole team to drown in the sea because they had no place to stay. But that doesn't mean the team doesn't care about Dae-sung. They still observe him from afar and shout signals when they see he's about to be in danger. Dae-sung doesn't care much. What he's worried about now is that if he uses the Fire King's weapon, he's afraid that all the brothers in the society will die. It's really a shame. How will Dae-sung deal with this terrible situation? The monster Jin Xian was full of energy and released his tentacles everywhere to search for Dae-sung. On the belly is the monster's mouth with sharp teeth trying to shoot explosive energy like fireworks, causing waves in the entire sea. Everyone seemed to be fighting against blowing a cocoon, overwhelming Dae-sung's momentum and having to fight alone in the distance. Finally, the tentacles grabbed Dae-sung. They tightened their grip on his whole body and lifted him up high. The monster Jin Xian below roared cruelly and wanted to tear him into 100 pieces to make sushi. After saying that, the sharp tentacles pointed straight at Dae-sung, and for a moment, only a flash of light was seen, illuminating the sky. Ha-jin's people were worried. They were sure Dae-sung had become a meat skewer, and what would they do? Ha-jin was stunned as he looked at the horrifying scene in front of him, muttering to himself, could it be? Before he could finish thinking, he heard Dae-sung's voice ringing in his ears. You found the right place to die. I'm so proud of you. Leech. They were all startled and turned towards the voice and saw Dae-sung floating in mid-air. Ha-jin was still shocked and was shocked again. Why the hell did this guy appear here? Dae-sung looked down at Ha-jin and commanded in a cold voice. If you don't want to die, then get out of the way. At this time, the boat of his accomplices arrived to save Ha-jin and his brothers in time. Having finished protecting the commune's brothers, Dae-sung gave a dead look at the monster Jinshin and then launched himself high into the air. He knew it was time to use the rage move to release real ghost flames that burned everything it touched. Fury was the best choice right now. Over here, the Jinshin monster was furious because that cheeky Dae-sung had slipped away. It gritted its teeth and twitched loudly. Dae-sung also knew that, so he sent a rage magic ball as a result for it. The ball positioned itself exactly where it was and came straight down at it from the top of its head. Before his last breath, he screamed in denial. Why is he the only one who is strong? Boom! The monster Jin Xian exploded. Dae-sung's furious durian truly ended his own sorrow and the common sorrow of humanity. But before the moment of turning back to dust, Jinshin still fervently cursed Dae-sung. Even if he went to hell, he would not forgive him. Dae-sung was floating above the sea, looking at Jinshin's curse and laughing almost to death. He really lost to this idiot. He really wants to be entangled with Dae-sung until hell. Okay, goat. If you get down there, challenge me to a fight. The whole team was completely shocked by Dae-sung's glorious victory. Little Seo Yeon happily cheered. Oppa Dae-sung is the best in the world. Ha Jin was shocked speechless because he was truly amazing. This victory promoted Dae-sung's power to the level of ruler of space, an important entity that belongs to the Supreme Being. He also has the ability to hide his body and change his appearance. Dae-sung stared thoughtfully at the series of skills he had just received. But what he really cared about was finally being able to use aura. He smirked smugly. Oh la la, can I use an important entity? Does that sound amazing? The Sanmok flag fluttered on the trains that were slowly entering the upper gate one after another. Sanmok's #1 cleaning crew always arrives on time. He made Andy Sung laugh out loud as he stood on the ship's deck, looking very complacent. He was so mad because he was live streaming a vlog with the Uber million views button. Today, young man who likes to live virtual life Yang Chill will let all netizens experience what a day of cleaning for the leader of the Sanmok gang at the dungeon gate is like. The two of them, one singing and the other singing, seemed to have a very fun live performance. Tom really admires this couple's chemistry. The livestream received a rain of compliments from the online community and earned quite a bit of donut money. Many people also want to join the Sanmok cleanup gang. Wow, this old fool really knows how to make a name for himself. In the Fortress gang's practice room, little Seo Yeon was gritting her teeth and roaring in pain. A slightly curved hand flicked Seo Yeon's forehead. 1, then 2, 3 at the same time. Seo Yeon doesn't have strong skin but can withstand Dae-sung's extremely strong finger-snapping force. The girl screamed at him. Why did you do that? I told you to chase those ghosts away. Not to tell you to chase me away. He slowly explained that it was not a ghost, but a magic that invaded the boy's mind. Your brother has treated you well, so rest assured. Seo Yeon was dizzy, partly frightened by the pain. She cried without making a sound because it was too painful. Anyway, can't this idiot be a little gentle with this pretty little flower? Seeing that Seo Yeon was still missing the words, Dae-sung explained further. Think of it like he also tried to find out why Seo Yeon had that cursed power. She smiled and honestly declared that she had just entered a portal of awakening. Hearing the answer, Dae-sung was shocked and his eyes widened. What? Is there another kind of awakening gate? Seo Yeon made a mysterious gesture, urging Dae-sung to come here a bit. Right after he intended to sneak in just a little bit, Seo Yeon quickly approached and whispered in his ear. Let me tell you, in the monster gate there is a gate that can help people awaken. Dae-sung was shocked when he heard the news about Seo Yeon. But his face frowned in frustration and he didn't seem to like this intimate exchange very much. After saying the secret, little Seo Yeon also knew she wanted to leave her crush. She also confided her feelings because she was so desperate that she hadn't awakened yet. So even though she knew there was danger, she was determined to go inside. Dae-sung pondered. He had been in hell for 80 years and still did not know there was a gate. Well, it's because he's the male lead. Not a know-it-all Tom. Suddenly the system sent a notification that someone had entered the Demon King's domain. The emergency shrine mission has begun. This time, failure to embody the shrine will be reduced by 21%, and completion will reward 1 million merit points. Dae-sung broke his head and scratched his ears, reading the announcement and feeling so upset. This bunch of flies won't let him chat with anyone. Then he turned around and left, only to throw back the words, let's end it here. I have to go now. Making Seo Yeon cry out in regret. The girl thoughtfully scratched her chin, thinking, her crush left in such a hurry. There must be something important. Then little Seo Yeon looked at Dae-sung's back with a devilish smile. The scene changes to a 4-level row house with locked doors in all 4 seasons and staff. A special camp for holding hunters for the future. A prison guard walked up and knocked on the cell door. Looking inside through the bars, he informed the person inside that number 108 had a visitor. Number 108 is a man with a muscular body sitting with his legs crossed. His head bowed, looking like he is repenting. When he looked up with his chubby face, he thought he was a stranger. Ra is an acquaintance. Director Wang Jun-young, of Han Bang Gang. The prison guard opened the doorknob to invite him out, then opened the door and invited him into the waiting room to meet his relatives. At the first moment of eye contact, he was a bit startled, and Tom only thought it would be nice to go to prison here. That relative is none other than Cho Young, a hunter that Wang Junyoung devoted himself to training. Cho Young looked at him with affectionate eyes that he had never used to look at anyone, then softly called out to the leader. Separated by a layer of transparent glass, Wang Junyoung's chubby face just now disappeared, leaving behind a face filled with love for Cho Young. He was really happy to see her healthy again. The meeting didn't last long. Cho Young was forced to leave, stepping out of the four-sided iron gate of the prison. Cho Young's heart also felt cold, as if her weakness and love had been left to the leader. Recalling the conversation with the leader, Wang Junyoung very seriously affirmed that there was a high possibility that the Red Ghost Gang was involved in this case, telling him to consider carefully. Back to the present, Cho Young walked with a cold expression. All thoughts were directed towards the ice ghost, temporarily cutting Cho Young's sadness in half here. In another development, Dae Sung, the system sent a notification. You and your servant entered the temple. Dae Sung read the notice and was shocked. What the hell is a servant? Immediately, little Seo Yeon peeked behind him, making him startled and shocked. Episode 2. Turning around and yelling at the back, Dae Sung shouted at Seo Yeon's face. Why did this brat follow in here? Even though she was bullied, she still cheered and even posed flirtatiously with him. After that, he immediately took on the role of a pitiful person, whining and replying that it was because he wanted to learn how to use mana. Master. As soon as Seo Yeon finished speaking, Dae Sung received another confirmation message from the system. Ryu Seo Yeon is Han Dae Sung's servant as a witch, with the level 2 illusory purple skill that can reduce the opponent's strength. Immune to prayers. Added skill to use a virtual doll at level 3 with many controls. Level 3 teleportation skill. Ability to summon opponents instantly, but in case the user fails, they will die. Reading a bit of information in Seo Yeon's profile, Dae Sung was really disgusted, helplessly clapping his hands as if he wanted to escape from a terrible dream. He suddenly remembered, so because he marked that girl, she became his servant. Seo Yeon, standing opposite, leaned over slightly to show off the mark he had snapped earlier. That cowardice from before really showed signs of redness. Damn him. History of Nam Han Dae Sung after 80 years of bombardment in hell. I'm not afraid of you and your father. But now scratching your head. Scratching your ears without any sense of humor on the spot and still not having an answer, what to do with this girl. Then accept someone as your servant. It's not really you. Dae Sung looked at the short, mushroom-headed girl peeing and squirming in front of him, frowning and thinking. Finally, he sighed and made up his mind. Holding Seo Yeon's hand and pulling her away. Let's go download the Demon King. Needless to say, she's happy. Her cheeks are rosy. Her eyes are bright when Oppa Dae Sung holds her hand. So she's successfully flirted with the idol. The system notifies that the domain data is loading, and the domain Demon King's saved data is being reloaded. The ruler's power will correspond to the saved data. Then a series of sparkling glass panels gradually appeared and ran quickly before Dae Sung and Seo Yeon's eyes. What is Seo Yeon's trouble with this owner? Before I could say anything else, the ground under my feet suddenly shook violently. Fortunately, Dae Sung still firmly held her hand and did not let go. So the child was less panicked. Hey, it's so cool, boss. A few minutes later, the system warmly welcomed me. But looking at Dae Sung, I only felt more upset and annoyed. Not happy at all. Who would be happy to have their hands tied on 2 long chains? Dae Sung's head is full of questions. Oh my, if there is a bad ending that I have to endure. Is it a bad ending yet? A moment later, the system displays a notification about a mission called 1340 Demon King of Unknown Level, in which you are locked in a basement and temporarily unable to use mana. Its goal is to kill the guard. Reward 1 is 100.000 merit points. Reward 2 is the servant's skill, which will add 1 point. And it is said that the current domain Demon King's progress is 0%. What the hell? I'm back to the most trashy period. He shook the handcuffs and thoughtfully furrowed his eyebrows. Suddenly little Sol Yoon appeared smiling brightly. Master, making him startled and scream. Oh mom, you scared me. Looking at the wooden table nearby. On the table, in addition to the candle, were also displaying all kinds of things from fruit knives to meat cleavers. Handcuffs and scissors. Little Sol Yoon stood there, looking around happily, as if seeing some hot toys again. Forgetting that their respected owner was hanging over there. Dae-sung got frustrated and shouted. That girl. Only then did Sol Yoon wake up, look over and respectfully replied. Yes. He shook the chain in his hand and asked her if she could unlock these chains. Sol Yoon asked in surprise. Why don't you use your ability to shoot these things away? Dae-sung glared at the stupid servant girl and slowly explained. Currently these shackles are holding my mannequins. Okay master, let me try the house. Sol Yoon laughed happily because she was about to score points in front of her master. The cell made a clanking sound and then fell silent like before. The shackles on Dae-sung's hands were separated from his body without being damaged at all. He checked his hands and they were fine. Then surprisingly asked Sol Yoon how he could do it so well. Well, this place is probably suitable for someone like me. She was so happy that she even used magic power to draw an F shape. Meaning the final ending. Dae-sung looked at the girl and frowned. It seemed that the child's strength had increased significantly here. Sol Yoon was about to say something more when the two heard a strange noise coming from the door. Dae-sung immediately lowered his voice to block the girl's throat as the guard was coming. Outside the cell, the sound of keys jingling grew closer and closer. It was draped across the waistband of a ghost's pants, cutting off every segment of the body. The face cannot be commented on. Only two odd purple light spots emitting a ghostly light can be seen. Inside the cell, little Sol Yoon's eyes were bright. Her hand that had used magic power was blazing as she looked towards Dae-sung. Asking me to quietly handle it. Looking down at the dwarf who had just upgraded his magic power. He immediately wanted to show off. I only saw him bow his eyes seriously and look at the girl as if silently accepting. Then coldly said, Kid, changing that ghostly scene back to reality at the Jiangjiang public bus station. The sound of the car's brakes and wheels really made people shudder. Chan Ho, who had just parked the car and got out, was startled. He turned around and was about to correct the uncultured person hiding in public when he saw his arm sticking out of the window and waving. He looked blankly for a moment to confirm carefully that this guy seemed to be calling him. It turned out to be Cho Young. She called him to get in the car. I will take you to Professor Park. Since the beauty was willing to cooperate, Chan Ho couldn't refuse, so the two quickly got on their bicycles and drove away immediately after that. Going back to a quieter place. Looking at the machinery invested here and there. This must be a large research room. The Hans State's RO man had a distorted face as he read some news and lamented sadly. So the most likely person died like this? What a pity. But in the blink of an eye, he glanced at the machine behind him and smiled sinisterly. It's okay that he still has many samples left. I peeked in and saw that this machine was raising a fish that looked like a seahorse. No, with this size, it must have been a super seahorse. RO man kept looking at the super seahorse until the system rang and the experiment had arrived. He suddenly woke up. RO man looked at the surveillance screen on the laptop and exclaimed happily. Oh my god, company CO. How could we forget this? Zooming in on the camera. The image of Chan Ho and Cho Young sitting in the car is extremely sharp. The Roman was staring at the screen, observing every move of the two brothers and sisters as if he were watching for prey. He flashed a sly, sarcastic smile. A useless A-rank hunter and the deputy leader of the Dae-sung gang. You two will be of great use to me. He. Reach out and press the like button to give Tom the motivation to do the next part. Thank you. Sol Yeon took out the doll and held the bala to impart Red Lotus magic power to it. Next, the girl held a few tiny darts in her fingers and continued to mumble, sorry, and tossing. Then he strained his body and shouted loudly, throwing those darts forward with a weakening hook, causing shock. Several darts hit the shell of the doll's body, and the guard on this side suddenly jumped up. Sol Yeon shouted in exhaustion, lowered her hypnosis, and then launched a wave of darts at the doll. The guard's muscular body suddenly collapsed and immediately vomited blood and fell to the ground. Just as he was about to rise up to fight back, he was immediately hit with a blow. Oh my god, that was none other than Dae-sung, stewing with murderous intent, carrying the T-bow sword on his shoulder. He still calculated how close and far away he was, so he gave the soldier another blow until he lay flat on his back. The chimpanzee system floated up to congratulate immediately. You have defeated the guard. Progress 33%. Reward 100.000 merit points plus 1 point for the servant. You can choose to upgrade your servant's skills. Sol Yeon, coming from behind, suddenly felt her spiritual energy increasing and grinned. Just as I thought. My ability is much stronger here. Master. Seeing that the girl was arrogant and proud, Dae-sung tilted his head back and spoke in an insulting voice. From now on, it'll be even more dangerous. You'd better hide those dolls around here. The girl's smile completely disappeared. Her eyes widened and she blinked at the deer. Wait, how do you know my abilities? Dae-sung answered briefly and then left. It's hard to ask. It's showing up in your status window. Sol Yeon happily followed behind him without stopping talking. Master, wait for me. After walking for a while, the two finally found a path leading to a small campus. At this time, the system continues to send notifications. Task number 2 in process 135P Maze Garden. Difficulty level is unknown. Details must be to escape the labyrinth. Reward 1 rewards 100.000 merit points. Current progress is at Demon King level 33%. The deadly aura in the garden drains the target's vitality. Escape the labyrinth before the vitality is completely exhausted. At each point there will be a tomb watcher. You need to destroy the tomb watchers to restore life force. Dae-sung and Sol Yeon focused on looking up the long mission and remained absent-minded for a long time. With valuable past experiences, he calmly commented, I've been here before, so escaping the labyrinth won't be a problem. But, halfway through the conversation, Dae-sung suddenly turned to Sol Yeon and whispered, Hey, give me a doll. The girl was startled and asked again. Doll, what is it for? When asked that, the girl immediately handed over the doll to him. Grabbed the doll, Dae-sung leaned over and told him a few words. I will go inside first. When you hear me call, come in. Sol Yeon looked at the owner and smiled shyly. Oh, you mean you'll go alone because it's dangerous? You're so good, master. Dear, a man like him sweats when he hears it. His hair stands up on the back of his neck. His beak trembles. He really can't listen to another cheesy word. Dae-sung walked and thought. In fact, the tomb guard helping me restore my vitality was a trap. On the contrary, they only pulled my legs and caused my vitality to deplete faster. Why don't you think about it too much? The young man arrogantly whistled and used magic around his body. Then aimed a quick glide forward, leaving Sol Yeon behind to breathe in the dust. Dae-sung rushed like an arrow through the thorny wall. Wow, how can these three little monsters make it difficult for him? With his fast speed, I think this will end soon. But no, as soon as he passed through the wall of thorns, Dae-sung instantly turned into a sad boy, behind a few branches of vines waiting to chase after him. If they couldn't catch up with him, they would sneak up from the ground and attack him. He looked down at his body and was startled. If he touched those thorny bushes, he would slow down. Damn it, the aging happened faster than I expected. The fierce pursuit of the vines caused a loud noise that alarmed the guard. He turned around to find the intruder rushing towards him. The soldier was momentarily surprised and had no time to react, while Dae-sung still tried to run as fast as he could. Take care of the guards before your hair shrivels up like dry firewood. The guard waved his shovel at the intruder, intending to kill him in one blow. However, Dae-sung quickly bent his knees and bent back, successfully avoiding the dangerous attack in a split second. Having passed the guard, he sped away, ignoring that man's sideways glances. There, it's the exit. The young man was so happy because he was just a few steps away from this damn place. But how could such a simple thing be worthy of being called a challenge? The vines detected Dae-sung and created countless small explosions. The sturdy guard jumped out and swung his shovel to continue attacking. Luckily, Dae-sung was quick enough to pull out his knife to block the fatal blow. Looking up at his wrinkled face, Dae-sung muttered and scolded. Damn it, why at this time? The two sides were fighting fiercely. But in the distance, the vines were also enthusiastically crawling towards them, wanting to join in the fun. Oh my god. The blue-haired sad boy stared wide-eyed at the tangled ropes and gritted his teeth to climb. If I can't, I'll die. In an instant, the ropes surrounded and wrapped around the enemy into a ball. But where did Dae-sung evaporate? Talking about Chan-ho and Cho-young, who had just parked the car and prepared to meet Professor Park. Chan-ho glanced at the surrounding teachers and exclaimed. It was truly in a place where no one could find him. Cho-young coldly expressed his feelings. I've only come here once myself. After a few random words, the two continued walking. When the young man arrived for the first time, he asked everything and asked, why is the elevator so big? Cho-young was confused. It was strange that it wasn't here before. Even though they were wondering, the two followed suit and walked to the elevator to see what was going on. A few seconds later the elevator door slowly opened, revealing a tall, thin figure wearing a blue and white shirt. The young man with blue hair and two bangs romantically grinned. Hello, let me introduce myself. I am the assistant of Professor Park Dong-hyuk. Nam Jae-hyo. Does anyone wonder what Sol Yeon does when Dae-sung fights? She has too much free time, so she uses drawing magic. A dog draws a cat and waits for its owner. While having fun, Sol Yeon suddenly heard Dae-sung calling in her ear, Kid. Hey kid. The little girl was startled and howled. Is it the owner? Dae-sung angrily shouted at a young boy. I called you 100 times, but why didn't you answer? Come here quickly. Sol Yeon happily raised her hand in victory. Yes, I understand. Then he turned around, flexing his arms and screaming. You da da, making the magic flare up. Finally, Seo Yeon successfully detonated an explosion that shattered the wall in front of her. Once inside, she looked east and west for Dae-sung to learn the news right away. But Sol Yeon's feeling now was cold. The guard discovered it and was as close as ever. The girl immediately turned around and took out the doll, mumbling and reading aloud, ready to solo right away. Hey, calm down. It's me. Hearing the guard's voice sounded so familiar, Sol Yeon paused for a few seconds, gasping and confirming. What's with the owner of that form? Dae-sung didn't bother to say much. Just replied indifferently, I'll explain later. Now follow me. After saying that, he turned around and squatted down, placing his hand on the ground to look at something. His flat hand cast some kind of magic into the ground, blue light radiating out from it. The land in front immediately collapsed, causing dust to fly in all directions. Immediately afterwards, underground stairs appeared leading down to the deep tunnel. The ghostly screams echoed from deep underground, causing Dae-sung and Sol Yeon to carefully observe this tunnel for a long time. The space below is quite large and built in a classic Western European style. In the middle of the main hall, there was a monster with white horns, kneeling and hissing on the ground, screaming and reciting some unknown incantation. When the monster raised its head, Tom realized that the white armor the monster wore was very elegant and familiar. But it didn't look very suitable for its two-horned, bony face. At this time, the system appeared to report the current situation of Dae-sung in the process of Level 3 domain mission 136P Corridor of the Demon King. The difficulty level is unknown. The details of defeating the Demon King have been tainted by heavenly fragments. Reward 1. Plus 100.000 merit points. Reward 2. Plus 1 servant skill point. Current progress in the Demon King domain has reached 66%. The two of them, a master and a servant, didn't know how to deal with it, so they hid behind the wall to wait for the two-horned monster to kneel and bow. Dae-sung took one look and then scolded. Damn, I'm one step late. Sol Yeon didn't understand what was wrong, but when her master scolded her, her eyes widened and she burst into tears. The two-horned monster's entire body was blazing with magical blue-white magic power. Its hands were clasped together in reverence, praying loudly, O evil souls, listen to this noble good faith. You are reborn from the heavenly fragments and they form a body full of sin, so you monsters. Repent. Repent. As soon as he finished speaking, the monster's whole body shook violently like a man and woman screaming loudly. Witnessing that scene, Dae-sung poked his head out and confidently judged that the Demon King had become a minion for those celestial bodies. It would be very difficult to kill him while in this soul-compelling state. Saying that, he turned his head to look at Sol Yeon, thinking about something, then decided to check the system information to make sure. Would the servant skill include illusory purple scent level 2, making the opponent immune to the curse? The level 3 puppet can cause dizziness, sleep, weakness, poison, and level 3 teleportation can change positions with a hidden puppet. Level 1 crit requires consuming 99% of stamina and mana. The ability to instantly bind the opponent is low. However, if the user fails, they will lose their life. Dae-sung looked at the long information and exclaimed in surprise, adding 2 points to crit. Sol Yeon was startled when she heard it and exclaimed, "Hey, what?" So, according to the system details, you will be promoted. Specifically, level 3 critical can increase the chance of success. However, if the user fails, they will lose their life. Dae-sung turned around and raised his hand to shush and shush. Telling you to shut up. I've upgraded your technique. Sol Yeon looked at him and was happy. Huh, that's fine. The little girl immediately raised her hand to try to exert her strength. Then opened her mouth and howled again. Suddenly, I now felt a lot of strength. Dae-sung, who only had 2 monsters left, suddenly ordered Sol Yeon, use that move on that guy. It will be fatal. She hesitated a lot. But if that happens, I will be exhausted. Is that okay? But now that I've made up my mind, I can only do it all. Dae-sung left a like in support. He can do it, and seeing his bright eyes immediately boosts his confidence. Immediately, Sol Yeon stood up, gathering energy in her dantian. Sol Yeon's hands were crossed to concentrate so that the fiery magic rose up. The preparations were complete. The girl took out a pen to carry her life. Dae-sung stared and thought, if you don't do it, I'll have to struggle harder. So please. Sol Yeon's eyes widened, concentrating all her magic and pointing straight at the doll, reading out a fatal curse. The monster on the other side was immediately eaten. One of the heads screamed loudly, then lost its balance and fell to the ground, lying on the ground. Dae-sung stood here, clenching his fist and shouting loudly, "It's good." But when he turned around to celebrate with the little servant, his emotions suddenly dropped. Oh my god. Little Sol Yeon has been lying flat on the ground for a while now. Looking at her sacrificed appearance, he was sweating profusely in gratitude. Okay kid. On the other side, the 2-horned monster screamed miserably, as if the magic power from the monster was burning, as if it wanted to swallow it whole. Dae-sung, dressed as a powerful, unmatched sentinel, roared loudly, buffing all his stats. Dae-sung's entire body was immediately covered with fiery orange-red magic power. Tightening the red knife in his hand that was clearly glowing with anger, the muscular young man boldly stepped out of his hiding place and rushed towards the monster, who suddenly sat up immediately. Dae-sung's eyes flashed a deep purple light, indicating that he would start with the bloodfire skill first. The 2-horned monster was also not average. It called out its magic power and pulled out a long-horned sword to show off. Dae-sung tightened his grip on the sword and launched it as fast as electricity towards the monster, shouting loudly, "You intend to use the sword to capture me, don't you?" The young man aggressively pressed close to the black interface of the monster, angrily ending the last sentence. Demon King Ha, die quickly. Dae-sung forcefully entered the path of the magic knife at the 2-horned monster. But the monster's entire body was protected by too much magic power. The sword chipped to piece and fell to the ground. While he was bewildered and not understanding what was going on, the monster's sharp sword rushed forward and crashed into Dae-sung's body. Drawing blood, he cried out in pain, his eyes rolling back because he was so surprised. The rather calm monster shouted loudly, absorbing its soul. The blue-white aura surrounding its body flared up fiercely again, even overwhelming the opponent in front of it. But what made Dae-sung turn around and cry out in disbelief? What is this? The magic power from the monster's sword penetrated the man's body and sucked him inside. In the blink of an eye, Dae-sung was nowhere to be seen. Only a portion of the remaining red magic power was seen around the misty blade. The two-horned monster triumphantly scoffed. Deserving of your insolent character. At that time, in the middle of a busy avenue, a Lamborghini was accelerating and honking loudly, trying to swerve away from the traffic. At the Gara Experimental Center, Cho Young took off his hat and politely added to the assistant professor. Professor Park, sorry he forgot to tell you, but there was another person coming. He stood still for a few seconds before asking again. Another person? Who is it? Cho Young was about to tell more when from behind a blinding headlight came. Interrupting the conversation, the Lamborghini started running straight and parked next to Cho Young's car right after that. Very quickly the owner of the boxcar finished dressing up and got out of the car. The super cool young man with the electric superhero interface in an elegant suit quickly walked up to the meeting with Cho Young. Just waiting for that, she immediately introduced herself. This is Mr. Do Han-ul, the leader of the Marvel gang. He wanted to cooperate with the doctor, so we decided to come here together. Jae-hyo quickly responded. No, she should have warned him in advance. Han-ul, self-aware of his own shortcomings, solemnly reintroduced himself. I'm Han-ul from the Marvel gang. As someone in the industry, I really admire you. Jae-hyo pursed his lips and silently scolded him. Damn, why did this guy suddenly appear? Then smiled and introduced himself. Ha ha ha, I'm Nam Jae-hyo, Professor Park's assistant. After greeting the assistant, Han-ul turned to greet Chan-ho. Leader Sung Chan-ho, nice to meet you here. Please introduce yourself. My name is Do Han-ul. The other party also responded in the same way. Yes, I'm Sung Chan-ho. The mosque's stiff and polite attitude makes you feel suffocated. Han-ul even waved at Cho Young to introduce herself. But luckily she nodded her head. This is a lot of formality. Cho Young turned to assistant Jae-hyo. Maybe everyone is here. Can you take us to see Dr. Park? He immediately bared his even teeth like corn in a wild smile. Ah, sure, follow me. But in his heart he secretly scoffed. Hee, what a cunning woman. You actually brought along a bodyguard. I will definitely punish you by turning you into a monster. Then the four used the giant elevator to go up to the laboratory. As soon as he entered the laboratory door, Jae-hyo raised his voice. Please wait here for a moment. The doctor will come out soon. If guests come to the house, tea or cake. This impolite guy said a few sentences and then replied. Quickly exit. The door leaves bewildered eyes behind. Besides that, he still closed the door to act as if he were being superior. Chan-ho was a bit disappointed, so he went around looking at the test samples in the jar and frowned when he noticed something unusual. It's a laboratory. So why is the atmosphere here so stuffy? This is a protective bracelet that we recently developed. Han-ul's voice rang out, causing the two kids who were nosy to explore to suddenly turn around and stare at the red bracelet on his hand.